Hey there, my name is Sky, and I stream on Twitch Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I do a lot on my channel, from gaming to cooking, and my favorite passion, Dungeons and Dragons. So in this video, I'm going to briefly recap Session 1 of a mini campaign that I'm doing on Twitch, and then I'm going to be able to post the rest of the videos straight onto this channel. More importantly, though, I want to provide back behind the scenes insight as a dungeon master and talk about my creative process so that way I can invite other people, get involved with Dungeons and Dragons, and you can become a DM as well if you felt inspired by this. So you can catch future videos on this channel, so be sure to subscribe, and then you can also watch me several days a week live on Twitch with the description below. To summarize what's going on, the players that we have 4 players. We have a Dragonborn Paladin, we have a Tiefling Warlock, a half-orc barbarian, and a half-elf ranger. So they recently freed the ranger's father because the father was speaking against the human king who has been reigning for 150 years, and that's created some suspicion. So a really easy tip to make a very intriguing campaign or a story: take something very simple, add a strange twist to it that allows players to investigate it. So I had a normal human king, but it's kind of odd that a human is living to 150 years. That's created some suspicion in the kingdom, and that's a quest and a main plot line that the players can use. So this mini campaign is about uncovering the king's secret and finding out what's really going on with the royal family. So that first session was about their journey to the destination, which is the capital of the kingdom, and also finishing a story thread with the warlock and his parents, who had disowned him previously. The parents owned a winery, and it's a very premier wine that they sell, and the players thought that that could be an inn to get into the capital and into the palace to sell the wine, deliver it, because the king is having a 151st anniversary. So Val, the warlock, was disowned for being immature and kind of a failure as a son, so he had to overcome that. However, Val made up with his parents, and he introduced his love interest Eleanor, who is the half-elf ranger, and also Thrax, the paladin, and Uga Uga, the barbarian. They used their strength and teamwork to overcome the challenge. They overcame a demon that the parents had been using to squash their grapes, and it was involved in their winemaking process. And it uncovered a traitor who was trying to overtake the family business. But the parents made up with Val and allowed Val to deliver the wine on their behalf to the king's celebration. So the main takeaway of this, though, is that I didn't have the whole entire winery planned out. I didn't make up a map or a diagram. I allowed my player to actually tell us, me as the dungeon master and the other players, what the winery looked like in the player's mind. So she talked about how the environment was very hot and humid, how there were tieflings all over the place, a lot of workers, smell of sulfur in the air. She did a great job of creating a devil-inspired winery. And I took that and ran with it and put in my ideas and the encounters that I wanted the players to face around the foundation that the player had built. And it made for a very memorable session. After that happened, there was the main plot thread, the whole entire mystery that they're trying to uncover. I gave them all a shared vision, a dream that night about a cry for help in a memorial forest that's near the kingdom's capital. So the rest of the session was them traveling to the capital, exploring the city, and experiencing the world building and role playing. So I allowed them to interact with some people in the city and some buildings to kind of get a sense of what was going on. How do you make a city without going into every building and outlining every small detail? How do you give basics of what a city is like in your fantasy world? Well, I used my own personal experiences. When I went to a big city, typically I get overwhelmed with people trying to sell me tours, trying to sell me vacations, trinkets, things like that, being interested by groups of people walking around in the city, and also kind of taking in the sights of different modes of transportation. So what I did is I applied this all, and you can apply this all to a fantasy setting. So I had people approach them trying to sell them tours of the city for a few gold apiece. Someone was selling leisurely cruises outside of the city, and one of the players was actually interested in it. The paladin actually scared off one of the hustlers through intimidation, and that went back to hurt him later. They also saw a group of mages that walked by in different colored robes that interested them. And I described how there were flying carriages traveling above them. Something I did not see them doing as a dungeon master was walking right up to the castle gates to get a better picture of what the palace looked like. That is something that I did not see them doing, especially when they were they planned on going to the palace in a few days anyway. And so I was very shocked that they brazenly went to the front gates. So Val, the warlock, he approached the gates, touched the gate, got zapped, took some lightning damage, and saw that it was very scary, very abandoned, and an automated voice talked to him. So they didn't even see anybody. And they were told to come back during the celebration if they have a delivery to make. So the players, still wanting to find out more about what the palace or the castle looked like from within, because they just got the view from outside, they decide to go to a library to try and find some blueprints of the castle. That's something that I did not expect either as a dungeon master, but we rolled with it, as DMs always do. So I described that they went to the main royal library in like the rich royal district, and there was an old elf there asking how we could help them. And the player said, hey, give us the palace blueprints. We're very interested in it. Obviously, that's a very classified document, and the elf told them not even family members can access these documents without explicit permission, let alone 4 random people that are strolling in for the first time. This is when the paladin remembered that he successfully intimidated a little scammer guy earlier when they first entered the city, and he tried to flex his muscles and intimidate the elf mage. Now, keep in mind, this is the player's second ever Dungeons & Dragons session, and he has not learned that there are consequences to your actions as a player in D&D. So he tried to intimidate him. Elf was not having it, and I asked the player if he had, less than 100 hit points or 150, however much it was, because the mage power word stunned him and kicked the rest of the party out after they were being so brazen and demanding to see those blueprints. The paladin thought he was going to die that day, which that's not needed. You can still send a message as a DM to your players without killing them outright. And it made for a very humbling moment, and him realizing, okay, my actions can impact myself and the party as a whole in a negative way because they all got kicked out as a party. So the session ended where they walked to the memorial forest where a lot of soldiers are memorialized that have died in service to the king, where they feel the call within. And session 2 is where things get extremely spicy and very creepy and spooky. And it was one of the best sessions that I've ever ran as a dungeon master, personally. And I'm going to outline in detail that in future videos. So for those out there, did you watch the session live? What did you think about the session? Do you have any questions about me as the DM or my world or the campaign that I'm running? Let me know in the comments below. You can also feel free to subscribe here on YouTube to get more breakdowns, recaps, and full recordings of my D&D sessions here on this channel. I'm also going to be showcasing clips from the Twitch stream and break them down from a Dungeon Master's perspective. And I also want to talk about the creative, improvised process that you can expect to have as a Dungeon Master. Also, I'll be live streaming episode 3 of the mini campaign live on Twitch on September 28th. And those episodes will be uploaded here.
Yeah, I trusted the fart. I trusted it.